Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today we've got a game for you between momo4sho as our British player, and his opponent today is going to be banstyle as the Africa Corps. Map today is going to be Twin Beaches. It's a cool map for me. I don't get to see it as often as I'd like. Pretty major cutoff points here and here, connecting you to this bottom side. Lesser importance cutoff points only connecting you to this munitions up top. You have alternate connection points to this fuel in the middle, which we will definitely see players fighting over. This map sort of plays, it reminds me of Crossing in the Woods in that it is actually a fairly strong strategy in the mid to late game to hold down this center point and rotate to meet your opponent in combat. I also see players really focus hard on this bottom side because there's a lot of fuel and a lot of victory points to be had. See what our players want to do. Pretty standard opening for both players. This triple pioneer with a motorbike is not as uncommon as you might think. First player going for the Australia battle group right away and adding on the Australian light infantry almost immediately. And of course he's supporting that with the dingo. Really popular at high levels. I think it's especially popular against Africa Corps because it can chase down these vehicles, especially the motorcycle. Looks like he might try to do that. And I think it's going to barely get away from him. The thing about the dingo is you can't capture, but is definitely better at fighting. Got more health, more armor, compared to its light vehicle its other counterparts, right? Nearly double the health of the bike, double the armor of the bike. So, Royal Engineers driving away these Panzer Pioneers, but running into a whole bunch of units. German player content to give up the top side while the Australian infantry capture everything away. Of course, he's diving on this fuel point in return. 4th Panzer Pioneer for our Africa Corps player, going up to the light support company now. Adding on sandbags here, I really like that. What I like from these high engineer games where they build just a ton of engineers, whether that be US, British, doesn't matter. But a strategy like that allows you to start building emplacements like mines and sandbags and barbed wire and anti-tank traps. So, cool to see him trying to do that. I haven't been catching him do it elsewhere, but I recommend to every player that you do that. A little bit goes a long way. I've seen sandbags on a victory point in the early game win the game. So, don't count them out. Panzer Pioneers closing the gap with these Australian infantry. I do think the Australian infantry have an advantage at this range. Of course, the motorbikes here getting on the opposite side of this heavy cover to try and flank there. Infantry section coming in to help out. And the Germans going to have to give up the position. More infantry on this bottom side. Going to decapture this point, being supported by the scout car there. And fairly even start. British player slightly behind on victory points. Does have a heavy MG set up in this house here. Panzer Pioneers trying to push into this dingo, not going to work for him, I don't think. Dealing a ton of damage to that one squad there, almost taking him out. Second heavy MG for our German player. So he's thinking about locking down the map. And yeah, we are seeing our German player go for the grenade launcher strategy. This strategy can be pretty oppressive against large groups of enemies. It's more popular in team games, from what I've seen. But this is exactly what it's good at, right? Is when units bunch up in cover, like we just saw there. It just leads to those devastating grenade launches. It's counterintuitive, but when you're facing a strategy like this, you want to stand in the open, spread out. Basically negates the effectiveness of those grenade launchers. Of course, by standing in the open, you are taking more damage from the rifles. But in my opinion, that's the way to beat it. Armored car coming out for our British player here. Getting to vehicles early. Is that a real barrage? Was a real barrage, wanting to save this munitions point. Denying the area to his opponent. German happy to flank around here. So I think a weakness of this... Ooh! Getting hit by his own artillery barrage around, clipping the top of that lighthouse there. That's crazy. So I think a weakness of this German's... Well... Okay, I was about to say that I think a weakness of the German strategy is that in order to be combat effective, I feel like you need multiple squads in the same area. Because even though you've got the grenade launcher, which does a significant amount of damage, I think it struggles against... you know, you just don't have as much health, right, if your squad's by itself. At the same time, you can spread your squads out and capture territory just fine. And if two squads are at least nearby each other, in theory, they can support each other that way. Looks like our German player is truly dedicated to keeping these squads right next to each other. I'm curious how that's going to work out for him. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that his map control is suffering because of this decision-making. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, that's just my observation. Barraging this building with his base artillery to drive the heavy machine gun out of the house. Double grenade launcher absolutely wrecking those infantry that were in the house, though. He's going to bail out here. Smoke's coming out to shut down that heavy machine gun, which is now going to reposition. Panzerjäger getting an angle on the side of that armored car there. Another barrage. That's a fake barrage. Looks like our German does not know that. So well done there, using those fake artillery flares to make his opponent reposition. Absolutely lovely. Australian infantry picking away at this Panzerjäger squad. Armored car sitting at maximum range, getting involved. That's a real barrage, I do believe. Yes, it was. German not respecting it this time, gonna pay for it, losing a Panzer Pioneer squad. May lose the heavy MG, nope. Wow, picking up a ton of units there. Is gonna chase this Panzerjäger. If he picks that up, he's gonna be real happy. Rightly assessing that his opponent doesn't have any additional anti-tank. May try to destroy this rifle. I don't know if... Actually, now that I say that out loud, I'm not sure you could do that. Is going to camp on it for a second here. And those Panzer Pioneers are going to pick up that anti-tank rifle there. Well, they're thinking about it. Guess not. If the British player manages to pick that up, he's going to be real happy about that. I wouldn't mind seeing him dive on that weapon. Motorbike buzzing around, picking up some territory while all that was happening. Big push out of his base by our Africa Corps player. Should see him pick up that... yeah, he did just pick up his anti-tank rifle. So other than losing the squad, he's not out of it in a bad way here. Scout car continuing to do its job, hunting for the motorcycle. British player trying to plant mines in the middle here, but getting caught doing it. Still don't mind his decision. He has added on a 2-pounder, anticipating some light vehicles from our German player, but our German player has just foregone all light vehicles in favor of infantry here, which is somewhat unusual to see. Armor car is going to pick up this 250 here. Panzerjäger trying to drive away the armored car, and it's working. Australian infantry getting involved here, protecting the anti-tank gun. German player going to steal this cutoff point, take away that bottom resources from his opponent. Well done there. And the German here is basically inside the British player's base, so he's reinforcing from this building while this fight is happening. Got a flank here from our British player, almost picking up that Panzer Pioneer. Getting picked at by those grenade launchers. I think that's a real barrage. Gonna force his opponent back there. Australian light infantry having to run the gauntlet here, getting hit by their own artillery. Is gonna make it though. Armored car diving here. Again, just totally not afraid of the barrage. These vehicles staying on the move to avoid getting hit by the grenade launchers. Is going to pick up the second Panzerjäger squad. Well done there. Looks like he did pick up a Panzer Pioneer while this was happening. Got a machine gun suppressing the entire British army here. Dingo's going to have to bail. May wait for a barrage here. Deciding better of it. First player adding on a mortar. I actually really like that here. That said, our German player did just tech up to the Panzer command here. So he's going to be able to add on Panzer IIIs or Stuka. He may add on the Flak 36, but that's very unusual to see at this stage of the game. In fact, he's going for a Panzer III. Stuka could be interesting, but I think... Well, yeah, I think a Panzer III is definitely the right call here. He's only dealing with a 2-pounder and an armored car in terms of anti-tank capabilities. In fact, these Australian light infantry don't have any anti-tank capabilities. So, love to see him add on a Panzer III here. Grenade launchers. Nice micro by our British player, right? He's just letting these things fire at him. He's dodging back and forth when he has the APM to spare. And it's working for him, I think. Of course, when we saw him stop paying attention there, that's when his trouble started. Armored car marking this area, making his opponent's units easier to hit. By a full 20%, that's absolutely massive. Armored car sitting at max range, picking away at these Panzer Pioneers. That's exactly what he should be doing. Mortar trying to help out, but German player staying active. Barrage here looks like it may have killed that heavy machine gun. Yeah, it did. Nice pickup there. And man, our British player has gotten absolutely massive value out of his Dingo. Mortar finally connecting on these Panzer Pioneers. I love this Royal Engineers hiding away, repairing this unit, while barraging the heck out of those Panzer Pioneers. And here's the Panzer III, as expected. Armored car gonna get caught out here. I think he might be able to pick up the armored car there. Nice pick up there. 2-pounder getting involved. High rate of fire, managing to penetrate with both shots. So I may have either that British player just got very lucky, or I have underestimated the 2-pounder. We're going to find out shortly. So our German player is about another 2 minutes away from being able to afford a Panzer IV, the second one that is. Our German player, on the other hand, or a British player, on the other hand, has added on a Crusader II, and he's going to pick up this Panzer IV. Unlucky bounce for him. AT rifles from the Panzer Pioneers getting involved, picking up the unit. That's absolutely huge. That is absolutely huge. Yeah, so as we just saw, our British player needs to be very, very careful with his vehicles. Our German has a surprising amount of AT in the form of his anti-tank rifles on these Panzer Pioneers, as well as the grenade launchers, doing an unexpected amount of damage. We saw that happen there. On the flip side, of course, our German is massively on the back foot. His opponent has way more infantry squads and is controlling a significant portion of the map. You can see just how much is blinking blue here. With all that in mind, I think our British player should be thinking about defending this bottom side, because our German does not have the forces to spread out here. And I think we're going to see him focus on these bottom 2 victory points. He can have all the fuel he needs down here. He can have all the victory points he needs, and looks like that's what he's trying to do. Getting suppressed by this heavy machine gun. Unfortunately for him, the Panzer III was not able to help out as much as he would have liked. Yeah. German player has done an excellent job keeping this motorbike alive, continuing to capitalize on its capturing power. Engineers on the top side trying to pick up as much turf as possible. Wouldn't mind seeing these vehicles chase down those Royal Engineers on the top side. Royal Engineers, on the other hand, leaving behind mines. That's freaking brilliant. When you control a space, leaving behind mines to make your opponent's life more difficult while they try to take the territory is absolutely huge. Two-pander taking pot shots at this 250. 250 looks like he is going to be able to bail. Assault Grenadiers using that assault disembark to gain massive movement speed coming out there. They, of course, also take reduced damage and get free grenades. Wasn't able to get close enough to that heavy machine gun. And British player moving back in on this bottom side to pick up territory his opponent was trying to take away from him. German player's added on another Panzer III. I think that's a good add here. He's up against a Crusader and a 2-pounder. I'd like to see these Panzer IIIs spread out, potentially. Escorting a squad around the map, especially on that top side. You know, he should know that he's ahead of his opponent on vehicles. And with that in mind, a Panzer III is going to dominate almost everything that the British player has, so he doesn't necessarily need them together. That goes directly counter to what I was saying a moment ago, where I'd like to see our German player push in on this bottom side, try and take away the victory points and potentially both fuel points. But that might be kind of difficult to do at this stage, now that there's another Crusader out, being shadowed by this 2-pounder. The player is going to pick up his, what I like to call, guaranteed fuel points. Guaranteed resource points, right? They're directly connected to your base. It's free income because it's so close. It's really hard for your opponent to take. And, of course, we saw the British player take it away, and so it's not exactly guaranteed. German player did research the more mines here from the British player. Nicely done. I was going to say our German player did research this 2 combat half-tracks, giving him access to the 259. And he's loaded up the Assault Grenadiers in there, and he's going to get aggressive here. I'd love to see him go for this mortar. He may not know it's there. More mines here. German player needs to be really careful, but he doesn't know that. 2-pounder in a perfect position. More mines from our British player. Royal Engineers are gonna hit that mine. 259 doing its job though, distracting the AT gun while the Panzer IIIs deal with these foot guards. Crusader 2 coming back, wrecking the 259. Assault Grenadiers jumping on the 2-pounder. They're gonna blast this Crusader. Did get a hit, but didn't penetrate. Panzer IIIs pushing up. Managed to avoid the mine there. British player remounting the 2-pounder, but immediately getting blasted off of there. Panzer IIIs looking like they wanted to hunt, but are just going to pick up this 2-pounder instead. Crusader 2 taking pot shots. Shots bouncing off that armor there. And it looks like our German's going to bail out. While that was happening, our German was securing a bit of territory on the top side, but it looks like the British player is well positioned to just take it right back. British player's adding on a Crusader 2 here, so it's going to be 2 tanks to 2, but of course our German is going up to 3 Panzer 3s here. Going to continue to bolster his forces. Surprised that we haven't seen him add on the MG34s there. You know, maybe I'm sounding like a noob here with the noob trap, where that's just a terrible investment, but personally I really like that upgrade. Curious to hear your thoughts. Panzer 3's real pissed here. It does look like he's going to pick up this top point here. More mines again. It's absolutely devastating. Picking up a ton of units, slowing down his opponent with the suppression. It's really nice. Crusader 2's matching the force on this top side. 3rd Panzer 3 rolling in from the side here. Having to deal with these foot guard. German player getting aggressive on these Crusader 2s. Recognizing his vehicle advantage here. 2nd Crusader coming in to save the day. Still trying to pick up that Crusader, not quite going to get it. Surrounded by these Royal Engineers here. 3rd Crusader 3 taking shots, and he is going to push them away. Did manage to pick up the top victory point, but while that was happening, our British player has taken this bottom side, even going to throw an artillery barrage on this heavy machine gun. German player very focused on this top side. Obviously very invested in the survival of these tanks, and I think that's may have cost him the position on this bottom side. Heavy machine gun is going to be able to retreat safely here. Surprised to see him setting up here. There could easily be a grenade, and of course he's going to dodge the arc there. Artillery barrage doing no damage to his own units there. Heavy machine gun barely going to live. Yep. Fight again on the top side. Crusader 2 getting involved. 2-pounder called in here to deal with the Panzer 3s. So our British player clearly thinks that 2-pounders are good enough for Panzer 3s, and I'm going to trust his instinct on this one, despite my reservations about that unit. And yeah, as soon as our British player has an area to himself, he just captures it all away. That's that squad advantage we're seeing at work there. German player trying to cheat the system by adding on heavy machine guns. And I say that like it's a bad thing. I think it's a good call, right? He needs to control space, and he doesn't have a lot of units to do it. So a heavy machine gun is potentially a cheap way to make that happen. Panzer 3 is getting repaired up here. Heavy machine gun setting up again on this bottom side. He's trying to defend both his fuel and the victory point. So I'm curious if our German player is going to commit to more Panzer 3s here. Could be interesting to see him save up. That is quite a substantial amount of fuel. As I'm saying that, though, it'd be a 270 total, which is what, 104? So 7 minutes away from a Tiger. Yeah, Panzer 3 all the way. I think that's a good call. Pushing in here in a big way. This is what I was talking about earlier in the game, where he just needs to control some victory points, just needs to control this bottom side, and that will potentially give him all the resources and victory points that he needs. Of course, our British player might be thinking about taking this point, which our German has preempted. Wouldn't mind seeing some mines on this path down to the beach here. Anything to slow it, because, you know, our German is very extended, right? Far away from his base, long retreat path. Lots of flank opportunities, and the more places he can defend with mines, or the more early warning he can get, the better for him. Panzer 3's taking shot through that front Crusader. Foot guard here to support. Getting good connections with those bazookas. Did manage to suppress the foot guards there, but an artillery barrage is going to force him back. Pretty much ignoring it. Sees it now. Crusader's trying to pick up that heavy machine gun. That would be an unfortunate loss for our German player. Looks like he is going to commit to it. 4th Panzer 3 is here. Unfortunately for our German, he can pick up that heavy machine gun again. Looks like he's going to do just that. The entire British force is here. German is essentially fighting 2-on-1 as far as units are concerned. Panzer III is getting good angles here on the side of this Crusader. Really like this Panzer III hanging out by itself. Wouldn't mind seeing all those Panzers get engaged here, but respecting that 2-pounder. Panzer III giving the rear armor on the retreat there. Looks like the British player might want to pounce on that. He does have smoke grenades for his vehicles, so he can pop smoke if things go really sideways. And yeah, that was a matter of our British player throwing bodies at the problem, right? I mean, he just has more stuff. Panzer III is bailing out to base. Crusaders trying to pick up some dudes on the retreat. It looks like they're going to get it, too. Nicely done. He may have heard those units retreating in the fog of war. He's going to get another one here. That's huge. Don't think he's going to stick around. Might lose one on the retreat here. Yes, he did. But does pick up another one, and now it's just 1 tank to 1. And this Pack 36 from our German player is too little too late, and he's going to throw in the towel there. That was a great little game. I think that our Germans' strategy was very strong with those grenade launchers, but our British player handled them elegantly, staying mobile. We saw that micro in action in a couple places that game. I think he had the right amount of anti-tank capability at the right times in that game. Our British player, I mean. Our German player had a really nice attempt at coming back there after he'd lost a significant number of his squads, but just wasn't able to get there in the end. But yeah, fun little game. I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.